shenanigans.
All right, the way Hot Topics works is each one of our hosts brings a hot topic they want to share with you. We'll ask, is it truth, lies, shenanigans? Our panel will talk about it for a bit until time is up. And then we'll go to our audience questions and comments. So make sure you're talking to us in all of our threads. And today, I am starting us out. And we are talking, so is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? This is truth. Let me first say, for some of our viewers, some of the footage you may find offensive from the segment, so I just wanted to warn you. We have another situation showing why there needs to be reforms in policing, defund the police, refund the police, whatever you want to call it, something needs to change. Body cam footage from January 29th shows Rochester, New York police officers restraining a distraught 9-year-old girl who was handcuffed and sprayed with pepper spray. Now, before I share the clips from the video, I want to point out last year's episode where we talked about 4 black children, including a 6-year-old, who were detained after pulling over the wrong car, reported stolen, and some of them handcuffed and all of them forced to lie on the ground face down. And then we talked about last season, episode 44, Daniel Prude. This is the exact same Rochester police officer that killed Daniel Prude just before the fateful events of George Floyd. Prude, who was clearly a person going through mental crisis, died after officers responding to a call for help from his brother put a hood over the naked man's head and pressed his face into the pavement until he was dead. All right.
I never saw that video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Rochester police officers, I'm going to show you guys the videos. That's about a 3-minute video, so I just want to take you guys through it and prepare you. But I wanted to really show you, I know a lot of you may have seen it on the news, but there is a portion of the video early on where you kind of see the officer originally meeting the child.
Get off of me.
What's going on?
Get off of me.
Stop. You're not in trouble. Come here. Stop.
No.
What's going on?
Get off of me.
What's going on?
Get off of me.
I'm not going to get off.
Get off.
What is going on? How can I help? No,
I
because
don't want
you're not
to
going to
be
run.
there. I'm not going.
That's fine. What happened? Why are you so upset?
She stabbed my dad.
Who did?
Her.
You seen off of my lip. The fuck?
No, it was not, because when he walked in the house, he was holding his stomach.
It was my blood. How the hell?
So your lip gonna bleed all the way down to your stomach, to your pants.
Fighting on the porch.
Who's
yes,
your dad?
you grown ass little girl. You're grown as a bitch. You
who's
don't
your
know what
dad?
you're talking about. Look at you. Yes, he had me in the headlock. You finna really make me do.
Ma'am.
Really finna go in on your ass. Now,
sorry.
because she's 9 years old and she's really behind. That's why she's
Here's
done.
what happened.
That's why she's done.
That
It's
was not
okay.
her
You
blood.
sit there, watch this man put his hands on me all the time. All the time.
Did you stab him?
No, I didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
You gonna bring your ass to this house if I yoke your ass up and drag you home. I got custody. You're my child. So you gonna take your ass home right now, and you gonna take your ass in the house.
All right, come on. Hold on.
Can you stop it right there?
I'm gonna fuck in the house now.
Can you just stop it right there? Because I want to know, where was the police intervention to protect this child? You have an angry, vile, aggressive mother who's cursing at a 9-year-old, threatening her and approaching her as if she's going to engage. And the police don't do anything to push her back.
He did
But yet
hold her.
later on,
So he did try to hold her back, but
to handcuff a 9-year-old. How about address the adult in the situation who should know better? I just had to get that out because I hadn't seen that portion of the video yet.
Yep.
So I'm sitting here like,
there's more to it. I actually cut some of it out because the videos are long. She actually did more than that. It was actually even more aggressive than that. So
that's a great question. Where was the intervention?
I mean,
when
he
she
did
was, like,
try
being
to pull her
super-
away from the child as she was trying to hit her.
Fighting,
But
yeah.
there
when they were
was
fighting.
it wasn't a lot. It wasn't enough, in my opinion.
Come on. Ma'am.
I wish you might.
If you want my help, just get up.
You might.
What kind of English is that?
I
wish you would-
know.
Stop. Stop.
Who the fuck is you talking to like that? Get away! Who the fuck is you talking to like that? Who the fuck is you talking to like that? No!
Come on, you gotta come with me. You gotta come with me.
I'm not
To your point, Lizzie, I'm going to come back to this, but to your point, you know, this is a child who just thought she had witnessed her father being stabbed. Even if she didn't see her father being stabbed, she saw a violent incident, right? She was clearly upset about it. She was clearly having problems. You know, she was distraught. I mean, you expect a police officer to help her. I mean, I'm sure she as a child is expecting a police officer to help her.
Just go have a
This is what
seat.
happened.
No!
This is how
I want my
it-
dad!
You're not gonna run off.
I want my dad!
Yes, you're gonna be fine.
Stop.
I want my dad! I'm not getting in no car till I see my dad!
Here, just stop for a second.
I want my dad! I want my dad! No!
Stop. Don't kick us, dear.
What are they doing?
Stop! Oh my God!
Stop, dear.
Okay,
Just relax.
okay.
Point
Wait,
the
my
gun, put her
mom
in
is
the hand.
pregnant.
Are you done?
My mom pregnant.
9-year-old girl.
Yes, please
Stop.
let me go. I want my dad.
Stop, dear.
I want my dad. I want my dad.
Get
I
in
want
the
my dad.
Get in the car.
I demand it.
I don't care what you demand. Let's go.
I
She's got her
want.
leg underneath my car.
Stop! I want my dad. I want my dad.
Stop, or you're gonna get yourself hurt.
Stop! He's hurting me. I want to. Oh my
It's over.
God.
Then get in the car.
Please help somebody. No.
Who is training these people?
I want my.
Disgusting.
You're acting like a
I
child.
want to.
Stop.
I am a child. The fuck.
I just went back to the house.
My order. I have a
All right.
bad order.
Stand up. Stand up.
Yeah, let
I
them
have a
hold
bad
it.
Stand
order.
up.
I want to grab
Stand
everything. This is it, honey.
Get back in the car then.
It's too hard. You won't do it if you. No, you said that you were gonna pepper spray me. No, please no, stop. Sit back. I got a bad arm.
Just spray her.
No, I have
Just
a bad
spray her at this
arm.
point.
Stop. Stop.
Wow.
Dear.
Stop.
I got her. I got her. Yeah.
Please wipe my eye. Wipe my eye, please.
Unbelievable.
I mean, the nerve of him to say
Yeah,
unbelievable.
seriously.
So again, up until they tried to force her into the car, she wasn't really being aggressive. Yeah, she was mouthing off, but she wasn't really being physically aggressive. The aggressive one was the adult mother. And never once did they try to restrain the mother the way they restrained this
They
child.
ultimately arrested the mother.
They didn't, but up until that point, like it took a lot to get to that though. They didn't arrest her. They didn't threaten to pepper spray her. They didn't try to force her into the car. They didn't tell her to shut up. And I applauded the young lady when the ignorant police officer was like, "You're acting like a child." She goes, "Well, I am a child. She's 9. She's
9 years old.
9. How
9
else
years
do you
old.
expect her to act? There are police officers around her. There is an angry, violent mother around her, like you said, Neo, whom she believes stabbed her father. And you guys they weren't doing anything to address that situation.
I do want to say
And
a
so
couple of things.
Even
Initial-
if they had calmed her down, because I've been around a parent who hates when you tell about what's going on in the house. So even if they had calmed her down, what do you think would have happened to that little girl between her and the mama once she got back in the house?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to point out, so the initial call was from the mother saying that the daughter was making suicidal threats. Now, a 9-year-old making suicidal threats, that's something important. But even if that initial call is that, this is not how you treat somebody who's on suicide watch. But the city of
Yeah.
Rochester suspended 3 police officers during an internal investigation that they're doing. And I should also note that after they killed Daniel Prude, the city launched a person in crisis response team that launched early last month in January, but they were not called to respond to this. And so my question to you guys is, what do we need to do to affect change here?
Can I just add one more point before you kick it to Rob B and Gianni Storm? So again, talking about the mother, I don't know if you were aware of this, Neo, but she's now suing.
Yes, I am aware.
She's now suing the city of Rochester for abuse against her daughter. The absolute nerve. The absolute nerve.
I mean, somebody's got to sue. I mean, there's no question about that. But
it
it is the nerve of the mother doing it.
But it's not.
He should not benefit.
I want to really
from
know
this.
what happened with the father too, because obviously there's an abusive situation there. But let me let Rob B. Rock and Gianni Storm jump in. Let me start with Gianni, actually.
Cool.
Where do I start? No, I feel like they came in wrong by, I think it was like 9 police officers that I counted there, or 8, something like that.
I think that's about accurate.
1, the wrong people were called, and then 2, why were you guys? With suicide, I understand because it can get sticky. I understand maybe that's probably why, but then even the behavior of the police officers, I feel like they felt like she kind of spoke like she was much older, and that's probably because she's been through a lot of real crap in life. You can tell. So she spoke much older. And even the mom called her a grown ASS little girl. So it was like because she's been through real experiences more so than a lot of people probably. And so I think that they handled her as if she was already somebody that was going to be aggressive and be like that. So it was like placing her in that scenario to behave like that. Like they didn't kill down sorry, Neil.
The thing that pisses me off though about that is that her mother in the earlier video told the officer she's 9 years old. Not only that, the daughter says, "I am a child." And they didn't tamp her down. Go ahead, Rob.
And my thing is, there was no change. Oh, sorry.
Go
No, I
ahead,
was just going to say there was no change from that. What was it called? That campaign. I think you said that they started for mental health crisis. Like there was no training or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, I'll talk to him when I talk. But go ahead, Robbie. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, well, it's important to note that the child did threaten harm to herself and to her mother. She said she was going to kill herself and her mom. So there's a lot more going on. She's clearly a child in an abusive situation who witnessed something traumatic and violent between her parents.
I just want to jump in real quick on that. To that point, she is 9 years old, and I remember having been in an abusive situation, not making threats to suicide, but making threats for things to stop. You become so desperate for things to stop that you start making these
she was pushed
things
to
like,
that.
I'm gonna kill myself if you don't stop, or I'm gonna, if you don't stop, I'm gonna kill you, or because as a child you don't know what else to do, so you go to an extreme. So I just want to make that point.
But also, to that point, the mother threatened her in front of the police officer.
Yes, threatened her physically
on several occasions
and attacked her, literally abused her in front of the police.
So like Neil said, she may have said, "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill my mother." But that wasn't not that I know of. Maybe I missed it. I don't know if that was in front of the actual police officers, but they did see the mother threaten her.
I didn't see it in the video.
The mother lunged at her or whatever in front of them, and nothing was done.
In all the videos, she never threatened suicide in the videos, and I've watched them thoroughly. So never in any of the videos did she threaten suicide.
I never heard her say anything.
She might have done it like the mother. I did hear the phone call that the mother made, the 911 call, and she said that. But go ahead, Robbie.
The mother's the only one that's vocalized it.
Yeah, vocalized.
It's also important to note that the mom escalated the situation because when she was on site, she gave license to the officers to handcuff the child. So to detain her in that fashion. So I mean, I don't
know that they did, though. I mean, I think there's still some discrepancy on that. I think that's what the officer said, but I don't know that that's accurate.
But also, you can choose not to do it as well. Like, mom is saying handcuff her. As an officer, you can use your common sense, you can use your good judgment, you can use your compassion, and be like, she's 9. I'm not handcuffing a 9-year-old. And it begs the question, if you have children and your 9-year-old is having a tantrum, is unruly, and I'm not saying this to the abusive parents who may be watching, I'm talking to the rest of us. Would you handcuff them? Would you spray pepper spray in their eyes? Would you curse them down like that? And mainly I'm asking this of the police officers. Like, would you treat your child like this? I don't think so.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
if she didn't want to go in the car, why not just let her sit on the side of the road until
Take
things
your
calm down?
put it on the concrete and let her sit on your jacket.
Just let her sit. If she doesn't want to go in the car,
Exactly.
she's 9. What is she going to do?
She's 9.
Where's the threat?
She's not even 10. She's very young.
What is she going to do? She can't run
Yeah.
from you. She's not going anywhere. She can't beat you up. She's not going to shoot you. Let her sit. If she wants to sit in the cold, let her sit in the cold. Offer offer her to sit in a nice warm, squad car. Fine. But at some point, why couldn't kindness be the better option?
There was
Or
no like
you didn't
de-escalation of anything.
Exactly, Gianni.
No,
Exactly.
and the real failure is that the task force that they built a year ago and that went into active duty a
Yeah.
week ago was not called. They have a specialized team to deal with these types of crises. So, like
Exactly.
Johnny had alluded to, there's definitely training at the dispatch level, new procedures when they're issuing these types of emergency services teams. It should have been handled by the crisis intervention team. Unfortunately, it was relegated to the police force, and they did not handle the situation properly. But hopefully, moving forward, Rochester will learn from this horrible experience and put the right teams in play. We're talking about defund the
Yeah.
police and funding the right initiatives, that we need to use those proper initiatives when they are in place. So
Right.
there was a failure
Yeah.
in dispatch communication that resulted in this really another horrible situation for a child.
Because the fact that they set up
Yeah.
something
Traumatizing.
like that for a crisis situation is great. That's what we've been looking for. That's what we talked about in, what was that, episode 44 with Daniel Prude. We need to have those interventions, and they did it. But why not use it? Even if you don't use it, let's say you don't use it, and you make the mistake, those officers have to do better. You know what you did with Daniel Prude. Why wouldn't you say to, hey, we don't need another situation like that? Why wouldn't there be some type of training because there are going to be times where that response unit can't get there, or that they're overwhelmed. Maybe there's a bunch of people who are in crisis at one given point, and they don't have enough officers. There still need to be police officers who can de-escalate a situation with a 9-year-old girl.
With a 9-year-old girl, yeah.
A 9-year-old girl who will
Yeah.
probably never trust a police officer again in her life.
I mean,
Ever.
when
She probably doesn't even trust her parents.
Nothing.
when you're an abused
The thing about
child,
parents, the thing about parents, though, is children are more often than not, at least initially, they forgive their parents for a lot of stuff because they love them, essentially, and that's who they know to be raising them. Police officer is different. You don't know these white guys that are in your face that are cursing at you and trying to force you into a car and spraying pepper spray and like they don't know that, and they see that initially as a sign of authority. These are supposed to be authority, but everyone around them is telling them that police officers are bad, and now they just experienced it firsthand.
when you're
So
an
they will
abused
probably
child,
never
you
get her back.
are
or her.
looking for someone to help you, to protect you. You're looking for that person because, again, I know, Lizzie, you've spoken about your history. I know my history. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody to help. And when you go to the help and they're worse, I just want to point out, though, even though she was distraught, and Lizzie alluded to it, first off, she did nothing to warrant arrest in any way. But she reported the crime of abuse and possible attempted murder to the initial officer. And Gianni Storm pointed out the fact that she seemed very older. She requested her parent before getting into anyone's car. These are all things that you should do. She reiterated that she was a minor child. She requested a female officer when the guys were mishandling her. She informed them that her mom was pregnant. Please don't mishandle her. She let them know that she had an injury to her arm, and she rightfully screamed, "Please, somebody help me." I mean, if I were an attorney, I would have a field day, but mostly because the child did everything right.
And they failed to protect her from her mom. They allowed someone who was aggressive, who was angry, who was ready to physically engage, get within striking distance of this 9-year-old.
And
So
clearly has an abusive father as
so
well.
if anyone needs to sue, it's the 9-year-old. If anyone needs to sue, it's the 9-year-old.
I'm worried for her. Where does she go? She has no safety.
They probably took her to get one physically evaluated at a hospital because she said something had happened to her arm, but also some type of psych evaluation because there was an allegation that she tried to kill herself, and then she, seemed to be a little off at moments, and then after that, hopefully removed from the home. Don't send her back to that crazy woman at all.
Yeah, don't.
And then, as she kept asking, where is the father? What happened with that side of the story? Because the mother denying that she stabbed the father, she also was speaking as if you better shut up. You better shut up. Don't tell them what happened. You better shut up. Like I'm used to that type of language.
Intervening. I agree with you.
That specifically. So there's a lot to unwrap here, a lot going on here. Shame on the city of Rochester. Shame on the Rochester Police Department that we are here once again dealing with this.
Let me quickly go down some of these comments online. So Kevin Daxon says, because there's some punk ass Bamas. Candace Winston said they never tried to de-escalate. Why not take her to wherever her dad was? Or at least offer to take her to wherever her dad was. Mike Winter says, because we're all monkeys to them.
Hospital because he was stabbed. That's where the dad was.
I still haven't heard. I was researching. I still haven't heard what actually happened to his father.
Why didn't even the police officers ask about it?
Get him on the phone, anything.
Right.
To calm down someone's crisis.
Gary Winter said, not only handcuff, but pepper spraying. Exercise good judgment. How do you raise children? How are intervention services provided? George Fournier said, well said, Rob. Cherry Blaine Priest said, the damage is done. And yes, Gianni, where does she go from here?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to our next hot topic because we use up a lot of time with that one.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.